Beneath the rolling hills of Europe, hidden beneath layers of soil and stone, lie the echoes of a world long forgotten, a world of kings and queens, of knights and battles, of castles that once defied time itself. This is a story of medieval archaeology, a journey into the bones of history, where every stone tells a tale and every ruin whispers secrets of power, ambition, and survival. Europe alone is dotted with over 40,000 castles, each built to protect, to conquer, to dominate. Yet, only a fraction of these fortresses have been fully studied. Who built them? Who lived within their walls? And why were some abandoned, swallowed by time? These stone fortresses were more than military strongholds. They were centers of culture, innovation, and politics. Archaeology reveals not just walls and moats, but the daily lives of those who shaped early European history. Knights, the warriors of legend. Chivalry, honor, and courage. But beneath the myth, archaeology uncovers their real lives. Diets of coarse bread and salted meat, wounds healed in primitive hospitals, and battles that left thousands nameless in unmarked graves. Modern analysis shows that nearly 70% of skeletal remains from battle sites reveal traumatic injuries consistent with medieval warfare. Every scar, every weapon, every fragment tells a story, not a myth, but of human resilience. Beyond the castles, beyond the knights, lie kingdoms that vanished from memory, empires that rose, thrived, and fell, leaving behind cryptic inscriptions, hidden treasures, and archaeological puzzles. Recent excavations in Eastern Europe uncovered entire medieval villages preserved under peat bogs, revealing insights into architecture, diet, and social structure that challenge centuries of historical assumptions. These discoveries remind us that history is not only written in books, it is etched into the earth, waiting patiently for us to listen. Medieval archaeology is more than a pursuit of the past. It shapes our present, informs our identity, and inspires our future. From understanding feudal societies to reconstructing ancient diets and trade routes, each discovery teaches us about resilience, innovation, and human connection. In a world increasingly defined by technology, these stones remind us of the ingenuity and spirit of our ancestors. We are not merely uncovering ruins, we are rediscovering ourselves. And in every castle, in every blade, in every lost kingdom, lies a story that refuses to be forgotten. Medieval archaeology teaches us that history is alive, that every stone has a soul, every ruin a memory, and every discovery a lesson. As we peel back the layers of time, we do more than uncover the past. We illuminate the path forward, and remember that even in ruin, there is beauty, courage, and hope. Beneath the rolling hills, the dense forests, and the quiet fields of Europe, the past sleeps, waiting for those who are willing to listen. Beneath layers of soil, beneath centuries of change, lie the remnants of a world that once thrived with ambition, conflict, and creativity. This is a world of medieval archaeology, a realm where every stone, every fragment of pottery, every ruin has a story to tell. These are not just buildings left to crumble. They are windows into the lives of people who lived 1,000 years ago, people who dreamed, struggled, and built civilizations from the ground up. Archaeologists have spent decades uncovering castles that rise like ghosts from the earth. Some are towering fortresses perched on cliffs, their walls still standing after hundreds of years of storms, wars, and neglect. Others are barely recognizable, hidden under thick layers of moss, vines, or earth, waiting quietly for their secrets to be revealed. Each site is a puzzle, a silent witness to events long forgotten, yet capable of speaking to us across the centuries. When explorers and researchers first began excavating these castles, they often found more than just walls and towers. Beneath the stones, there were traces of daily life. Broken plates, worn shoes, fragments of tools, and even remnants of meals eaten long ago. These discoveries allow historians to reconstruct a world that textbooks can barely touch. They reveal how families lived within stone walls, how servants and laborers moved through hidden passages, and how rulers designed their fortresses not only for defense, but to display power, wealth, and influence. In some cases, the soil preserves extraordinary details. Archaeologists have uncovered entire kitchens where the heat of ovens still seems to linger in the ashes. Wells and cisterns tell us how water was stored and protected. And in hidden corners, carved inscriptions or paintings whisper stories of faith, hope, and even fear. Each find adds a new chapter to a story that has waited silently for generations. It is in these details that the human side of medieval history comes alive. Not just the battles or the kings, but the ordinary lives that made the extraordinary possible. Some castles were built to endure centuries, but many were abandoned, their stones taken by new settlers, their walls collapsed under the weight of time. When archaeologists uncover these sites, they often work against a clock that began ticking hundreds of years ago. The discoveries are delicate, fragile, and sometimes fleeting, yet the rewards are extraordinary. A single shard of pottery or a fragment of armor can tell us who lived there, what they ate, what they believed, and even how they died. Through meticulous work, researchers piece together lives that history almost forgot. The location of the castle itself often reveals secrets. Built on a hilltop to command a valley, or beside a river to control trade routes, these fortresses were carefully chosen to shape the world around them. They were not random. They were statements of power and control, expressions of a ruler's ambition. Archaeology allows us to see these choices clearly. By studying foundations, gatehouses, and defensive walls, experts can reconstruct strategies and understand how these castles changed the balance of power in medieval Europe. But medieval archaeology is not only about stone and metal. It is about connecting with human emotion across time. It is imagining the fear and courage of a family hiding in the tower during a siege, the pride of craftsmen shaping the finest stones for a king's hall, or the sorrow of villagers who watched their home fall to invaders. These ruins are more than history. They are human stories frozen in time, waiting to be read with care, patience, and imagination. Even today, modern technology allows archaeologists to see what once seemed invisible. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D reconstructions, and digital mapping reveal hidden chambers, tunnels, and courtyards that were once buried or lost. With every discovery, the past becomes clearer, richer, and more immediate. The castles speak not just of power or defense, but the hopes, dreams, and struggles of real people. As we trace these ruins, we come to understand that medieval archaeology is not only about uncovering buildings. It is about understanding the human spirit, how societies formed and evolved, and how people lived in a world very different from our own, yet one that still shapes us today. Each excavation is a reminder that history is not gone. It is waiting beneath our feet, ready to teach us, to surprise us, and to inspire us. In this journey through stone and soil, we learn that every castle, no matter how small or hidden, is a storybook etched in the earth. They invite us to look closer, to ask questions, and to imagine the lives of those who came before us. And as we step into these silent halls and stand on the crumbling walls, we are reminded that history is not only about kings, knights, and battles. It is about the people who built, lived, and dreamed, leaving behind a legacy that refuses to be forgotten. Castles were more than simple stone buildings. They were symbols, statements, and lifelines. They towered above villages and towns, designed to inspire awe, to intimidate enemies, and protect the lives of those inside. Each castle was carefully planned, built to last, and often the centerpiece of an entire region. They were not just homes for royalty. They were hubs of power, culture, and daily life. Archaeology reveals that behind the walls and battlements, there existed an entire world, bustling with activity, drama, and ingenuity. Every castle tells a story. The thick, weathered walls speak of sieges survived and battles fought. Towers, once full of sentinels scanning the horizon, now stand silent, yet they hold the memory of vigilant guards, prepared for the threat of invaders at any moment. Moats, drawbridges, and secret passages reveal the lengths to which rulers would go to protect their people and their treasures. Modern excavations have uncovered hidden chambers, forgotten kitchens, and even concealed dungeons that reveal a darker side of medieval life. Inside these walls, life was both challenging and structured. Royal courts operated with strict rules, while servants and laborers carried out tasks that kept the castle functioning. Archaeological digs have uncovered traces of workshops where blacksmiths forged weapons, carpenters shaped wood for construction, and artisans created items for everyday use. Even the smallest artifacts, broken cups, worn shoes, fragments of jewelry, offer insights into the lives of those who were not kings or queens, but who sustained the heartbeat of the castle every day. The strategic locations of castles were no accident. High on cliffs, overlooking rivers, or guarding vital trade routes, castles served as both defense and display. They were meant to show power as much as to provide protection. Some castles controlled entire valleys, allowing their rulers to monitor movements, levy taxes, and assert authority. Archaeologists studying these locations can reconstruct a landscape and understand why certain sites were chosen over others. In many cases, the location itself shaped the history of the region. Castles also reflect the ingenuity of medieval engineering. Walls were built thick to withstand siege weapons, while towers and battlements were designed for archers and lookouts. Some castles had multiple layers of defense, including fortified gates, barbicans, and hidden escape routes. Archaeological evidence shows the use of advanced masonry techniques, water management systems, and even early forms of sanitation, revealing a level of sophistication often overlooked in popular imagination. Yet, castles were not just about defense. They were places of culture, celebration, and governance. Great halls hosted feasts, tournaments, and gatherings where decisions were made that affected entire regions. Religious life was intertwined with castle life. Chapels and shrines were built within walls, and artifacts such as crosses, prayer books, and carved figures revealed the spiritual devotion of both rulers and subjects. Archaeology brings these aspects to light, showing that castles were living spaces where faith, politics, and daily life were inseparable. Over time, many castles were abandoned or destroyed. Wars, changing political powers, and shifts in military technology left some structures in ruins. Others were dismantled, their stones repurposed for new buildings. Yet even in decay, these castles continue to speak. Archaeologists uncover layers of history beneath collapsed walls and floors, revealing secrets that have lain hidden for centuries. Every excavation brings new discoveries, from forgotten gardens and animal pens to tools and personal belongings that humanize the people of the past. The stories revealed by castles are not always grand or heroic. Some tell of hardship, of sieges that lasted months, of families living under constant threat, of servants working tirelessly to survive. Others tell of ambition, strategy, and triumph, as rulers expanded their influence, forged alliances, and maintained control over vast territories. Archaeology allows us to piece together these stories, providing a window into the complexity of medieval life that goes far beyond the myths of kings and knights. Technology today amplifies our understanding of castles in ways that would have been unimaginable centuries ago. Ground-penetrating radar can reveal hidden foundations and forgotten rooms. 3D reconstructions allow us to visualize entire castles as they once stood, bustling with life. Even small discoveries, such as fragments of painted walls or faded tapestries, offer insights into decoration, status, and a taste of those who once walked these halls. Every find brings the past closer, allowing us to experience it in vivid detail. Ultimately, studying castles through archaeology is a journey into human ambition and resilience. These structures are more than stone and mortar. They are symbols of creativity, strategy, and the human desire to protect, to lead, and to leave a mark on the world. By exploring castles, we do not only understand architecture or military history, we understand the people who built them, lived in them, and defended them. The walls may crumble, but the stories remain, waiting for those who are willing to uncover them. Through these stones and ruins, we begin to see medieval Europe not as a distant mythical time, but as a real, tangible world filled with people whose choices shaped history. Castles are the stage, the walls the witnesses, and archaeology is the key that unlocks their stories. With each discovery, we are invited to step closer, to imagine life behind the battlements, and understand that history is not only something we read. It is something we experience one stone at a time. Knights have always captured our imagination. Clad in shining armor, carrying swords and shields, they're often remembered as symbols of courage, honor, and chivalry. Yet, the reality of their lives was far more complex, far more human than legend or literature often suggests. Archaeology peels back the layers of myth to reveal the true lives of these warriors, offering a glimpse into their battles, their hardships, and the world they inhabited. The life of a knight began long before any battle. Training started in childhood, often under the guidance of older warriors or in the courts of noble families. Young boys learned the art of combat, horse riding, and strategy, but they also studied etiquette, diplomacy, and the rules of loyalty. Archaeological finds, including training grounds, practice weapons, and even personal letters or records, provide insight into how deeply structured this upbringing was. It was a life that demanded discipline, resilience, and a constant readiness for danger. When the call to war came, knights were expected to perform under extreme conditions. Battlefield archaeology has uncovered skeletal remains showing injuries that speak of brutal combat. Arrow wounds, sword cuts, and fractures that often healed improperly due to primitive medical care. In some cases, analysis of these remains has revealed patterns of repetitive stress, suggesting that knights endured long campaigns and rigorous training that left lasting marks on their bodies. These physical traces tell a story far richer than any legend, a story of endurance, pain, and determination. Beyond the battlefield, knights lived in a world of rigid social structures. They were part of a hierarchy, serving lords or kings, and in return, they were granted lands, wealth, or positions of influence. Archaeological evidence shows that their living conditions varied greatly. Some knights enjoyed comfortable quarters within castle walls, complete with access to food, servants, and weapons. Others, especially those on long campaigns or in remote posts, faced harsh conditions, relying on simple meals and temporary shelters. Everyday objects found in digs, coins, jewelry, tools, and even remnants of clothing help us understand the practical realities of their lives. The equipment of a knight was as much a burden as it was protection. Armor, carefully crafted from iron or steel, could weigh over 60 pounds, covering every part of the body while allowing for movement. Archaeologists have studied these armors, often finding signs of repair, modifications, or where patterns that indicate frequent use in combat. Swords, lances, and shields, often personalized with symbols or inscriptions, were not only weapons but statements of identity and status. Even the tiniest detail, a dent in a helmet or a worn grip on a sword, can tell a story of a skirmish long forgotten. Knights were also part of a broader culture of warfare and ceremony. Tournaments were as much about practice as they were about spectacle. Archaeological evidence from tournament grounds, including remnants of tracks, barriers, and practice dummies, reveals a world where skill was honed in public view and reputation mattered as much as strength. These events allowed knights to test their abilities, earn recognition, and solidify alliances. They were both rigorous training and a theater of social power, showcasing courage and strategy to peers and rulers alike. Yet, the romantic image of chivalry often masked the darker realities. Knights were frequently involved in sieges, raids, and battles that left destruction in their wake. Graves and mass burial sites uncovered across Europe reveal the human cost of medieval warfare, not only for the knights themselves, but for the communities caught in conflict. Analysis of these sites helps historians understand the scale of violence, the medical practices of time, and even the diets and lifestyles of those who lived and died in this turbulent era. Life outside the battlefield was not without meaning or ritual. Many knights participated in religious life, supporting monasteries, churches, or pilgrimages. Objects found in excavations, such as crosses, prayer beads, or inscriptions, highlight the spiritual dimensions of their lives. They believed in duty not only to their lords, but also to a higher moral and religious code. This intersection of faith, loyalty, and martial skill defined much of the knightly experience and is vividly reflected in the artifacts left behind. Through archaeology, we gain a full picture of knights as real people. They were not invincible heroes, nor merely instruments of war. They were human beings shaped by training, by culture, by hardship, and by ambition. Every battlefield fragment, every piece of armor, every skeletal trace tells a story of a life lived in extremes, of courage in the face of fear, of loyalty tested by circumstance, and a society structured around ideals that were often as challenging to live up to as they were to imagine. Studying knights allows us to see the broader context of medieval Europe. We learn about the conflicts that shape borders, the alliances that determine kingships, and the strategies that influence entire regions. Archaeology reveals both the glory and the cost of war, offering a nuanced understanding that enriches our view of history. It reminds us that behind every legend, there was a person, a struggle, and a life that mattered. Ultimately, knights were more than warriors. They were a product of society that demanded courage, skill, and loyalty, while also reflecting its ambitions and values. Through the careful work of archaeology, we can walk alongside them, see the world as they saw it, and understand the choices they made. In the fragment of armor, in the scars on bones, and in the artifacts of their daily lives, we find not just a story of knights, but a story of humanity itself, complex, resilient, and unforgettable. Beyond the towering castles and the armored knights, there existed kingdoms that time almost forgot. These were lands where communities thrived, where rulers built their courts, and where ordinary people carried out their lives amidst the turbulence of the medieval world. Archaeology has revealed that many of these kingdoms were far more complex than we ever imagined. Entire villages, fortresses, and settlements have been uncovered beneath layers of soil and vegetation, showing us that Europe was a landscape of ambition, conflict, and innovation long before the modern era. These forgotten kingdoms were not mere footnotes in history. They were centers of trade, culture, and governance. Streets once filled with merchants, workshops, and homes have left traces in the earth that speak of bustling life. Archaeologists uncover foundations of houses, pottery fragments, tools, and even coins, each artifact telling a story of daily routines, commerce, and social structures. Through these discoveries, we begin to understand how communities organized themselves, how they adapted to challenges, and how they interacted with neighboring regions. In some regions, entire medieval villages have been preserved beneath layers of peat, mud, or volcanic ash, almost like time capsules. These sites allow researchers to reconstruct not only the architecture, but also the lifestyles of the people who lived there. Analysis of food remains, animal bones, and farming tools reveals their diets and agricultural practices, showing the ingenuity required to survive in an often unpredictable environment. In many cases, these discoveries challenge our understanding of medieval society, revealing that life was not always as harsh or primitive as it has been imagined. Some forgotten kingdoms were powerful and influential, even if their names have faded from common memory. Archaeological excavations have uncovered palaces, administrative buildings, and defensive walls that indicate sophisticated governance and strategic planning. Inscriptions and documents, when preserved, reveal alliances, treaties, and conflicts, showing that these kingdoms were active participants in shaping the politics and trade of medieval Europe. Even ruins that seem modest at first glance can provide evidence of complex social hierarchies and economic systems that rival those of better-known empires. The disappearance of these kingdoms often came suddenly, leaving questions that archaeology seeks to answer. Wars, invasions, political shifts, and natural disasters all contributed to the abandonment of settlements. In some cases, entire communities vanished within a generation, leaving behind only traces of their existence. Archaeologists piece together these stories by examining ruins, artifacts, and environmental evidence, revealing patterns of migration, conflict, and adaptation. These findings show that history is rarely linear. It is full of surprises, abrupt changes, and forgotten chapters waiting to be rediscovered. One of the most fascinating aspects of studying lost kingdoms is the insight it provides into human resilience. Even in challenging conditions, communities built permanent structures, developed trade networks, and maintained cultural and religious practices. Archaeological sites have revealed workshops producing tools and crafts, marketplaces for trade, and religious structures that serve as centers of community life. These discoveries remind us that people have always sought stability, expression, and connection, regardless of the challenges they faced. Trade and interaction were central to the survival and growth of these kingdoms. Archaeologists have found evidence of goods imported from distant regions, ceramics, metalwork, textiles, and even spices, showing that these seemingly isolated communities were connected to broader networks of exchange. Such findings provide a window into the economic life of the medieval period, revealing the sophistication and adaptability of these societies. They also remind us that no kingdom, no matter how remote, existed in isolation. All were part of a larger, interconnected world. Archaeology also brings us face to face with the human stories behind these kingdoms. Personal objects, such as jewelry, combs, or household tools, reveal the presence of families, children, and everyday life. Burial sites tell stories of hope, grief, and faith, showing how people honor their dead and sought meaning in their lives. Even small details, like the remnants of a hearth or a worn path between homes, provide intimate glimpses into the rhythms of daily existence. Through these fragments, history becomes personal, relatable, and alive. In uncovering these lost kingdoms, archaeologists remind us that history is far more complex than the grand narratives of kings and wars. It is made up of countless lives, decisions, and experiences that together shape the medieval world. By studying ruins, artifacts, and landscapes, we gain a richer understanding of the people who lived in times of uncertainty and opportunity, of their creativity, resilience, and ingenuity. The lessons of these forgotten kingdoms extend beyond the past. They teach us about adaptation, survival, and the ways societies respond to challenges. They encourage curiosity, empathy, and respect for the layers of history that surround us. And perhaps most importantly, they remind us that history is not gone. It is hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered. And with each discovery, we connect more deeply with the people who came before us. Every excavation is a story revealed, a mystery solved, and a world brought back to life. Through archaeology, forgotten kingdoms rise again, not as ruins, but as living, breathing societies whose achievements, struggles, and triumphs continue to speak to us today. Each stone, each artifact, each trace of life invites us to imagine a world that existed long before ours and understand that the past is never truly lost. It simply waits for those willing to uncover it. Medieval archaeology does more than uncover the past. It reshapes how we see the present. Every excavation, every discovery, brings new knowledge that changes our understanding of medieval Europe and the people who lived in it. By studying castles, ruins, artifacts, and battlefields, archaeologists do not simply reconstruct buildings. They reconstruct lives, societies, and cultures that form the foundations of modern Europe. The lessons learned from these discoveries influence history, art, architecture, and even the way communities connect with their heritage today. Museums around the world have become gateways to this past, offering visitors a chance to see history up close. Artifacts carefully preserved behind glass tell stories that books cannot fully convey. A knight's sword, polished and worn from use, speaks of countless battles and long campaigns. A fragment of pottery, etched with intricate designs, reveals artistic expression and daily routines. These objects connect us to real people, their choices, and their struggles. Modern visitors, from students to scholars, can experience these tangible links to history, sparking curiosity and a deeper appreciation for the medieval world. Technology has further amplified the impact of medieval archaeology. Ground-penetrating radar uncovers structures hidden beneath layers of soil. 3D reconstructions allow us to walk virtually through entire castles or villages as they once stood, observing the spaces where people worked, ate, and celebrated. Even subtle details like the patterns of floor tiles or remnants of wooden beams can now be studied digitally, giving a complete picture of life long before modern conveniences existed. These tools make history more vivid and accessible than ever before, bridging the gap between centuries past and today's audiences. Archaeological discoveries also influence our understanding of everyday life in medieval societies. For example, analysis of kitchen remains and animal bones shows what people ate, while preserved tools and workshops reveal how they crafted goods for survival and trade. Coins and trade records illustrate economic systems, while manuscripts and inscriptions shed light on language, education, and communication. By piecing together these details, archaeologists reveal a society that was organized, creative, and connected, an intricate network of human experience that goes far beyond the myths of knights and kings. These discoveries do not only teach us about the past, they shape our present sense of identity. Towns and cities built near old castles or medieval sites often celebrate their history through cultural events, festivals, and educational programs. Local communities gain a sense of pride and connection to generations that came before them. Tourism and cultural heritage preservation become intertwined with archaeology, allowing people to experience history in a way that is immediate, emotional, and inspiring. The past becomes alive, influencing the way we live today. Moreover, medieval archaeology encourages us to think critically about how history is recorded. Written documents often reflect the perspectives of rulers, chroniclers, or the literate elite, leaving gaps in stories of ordinary people. Archaeology fills those gaps. By studying homes, tools, and personal artifacts, we gain insight into the lives of peasants, artisans, and soldiers, voices that would otherwise remain silent. Every pottery shard, broken sword, or buried wall tells us something new, reminding us that history is a living narrative, constantly rewritten as new evidence emerges. The impact of medieval archaeology also extends to education. Schools, universities, and online platforms use archaeological discoveries to teach students about medieval life in tangible ways. Hands-on workshops, virtual tours, and interactive exhibits bring lessons to life, showing how people in the past lived, worked, and thought. These programs do more than inform. They inspire curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking. They encourage the next generation to explore, question, and connect with history, ensuring that the lessons of the past continue to resonate. At its core, medieval archaeology shows the continuity of human experience. The struggles, triumphs, creativity, and resilience of people centuries ago still speak to us today. Their innovations in building, farming, governance, and art influenced later generations and laid foundations that shape modern society. By studying their successes and failures, we gain perspective on our own world, how communities endure, adapt, and leave legacies for the future. Ultimately, medieval archaeology reminds us that the past is not static. It is alive, dynamic, and full of lessons waiting to be discovered. Each excavation, each artifact, each site reveals stories of human ambition, ingenuity, and resilience. By uncovering these traces, we not only understand history more fully, but we also recognize our own place within a long continuum of human experience. The discoveries of yesterday shape the knowledge of today and inspire the possibilities of tomorrow, showing that history is not merely a record of events. It is a guide, a teacher, and a source of endless wonder. In exploring castles, villages, and battlefields, we are not just observing relics of a distant time. We are connected with lives that mattered, choices that shape communities, and stories that continue to influence our world. Medieval archaeology transforms stones into stories, ruins into lessons, and discoveries into bridges between the past and the present. It teaches us that history is not only something to be studied, it is something to be experienced, felt, and remembered. As we step back from the stones, the ruins, and the relics, a deeper truth emerges from medieval archaeology. History is not just about events or battles. It is about people, their courage, their struggles, and their dreams. Every castle, every knight's sword, every forgotten kingdom offers more than facts. They offer lessons. They remind us that even in times of hardship, in periods of uncertainty and change, human beings have always found ways to endure, to create, and leave something behind for the generations to come. Standing in the halls of a crumbling castle, one cannot help but feel the presence of those who walk before us. Their choices, their victories, and even their failures are etched into the walls. Archaeology allows us to connect with these individuals in a way that transcends time. The objects they left behind, tools, coins, pottery, jewelry, reveal not only their skill and creativity, but also their hopes, their fears, and their desire to be remembered. In examining these artifacts, we begin to understand that history is not distant or abstract. It is personal, immediate, and profoundly human. Medieval societies face challenges that may seem unimaginable today. Harsh climates, scarcity of resources, disease, and constant threats of war shape the lives of rulers and commoners alike. Yet through it all, they built structures that have survived centuries, developed arts and crafts of remarkable skill, and created communities that thrived against the odds. Archaeology shows us that resilience was not occasional. It was a daily necessity. The remnants of walls, workshops, and settlements tell stories of adaptation and ingenuity, showing that survival often required creativity, collaboration, and courage. These discoveries also inspire a sense of wonder. When archaeologists uncover a long-lost village or a hidden chamber beneath a castle, they are not just revealing objects, they are revealing stories that were nearly lost to time. Each artifact, from a worn shoe to a ceremonial chalice, carries a narrative. Each ruined wall or foundation offers insight into the ambitions and priorities of those who built them. By piecing together these fragments, we gain a clearer picture of how people lived, how societies were structured, and how ordinary lives intertwine with the grand movement of history. The lessons of medieval archaeology extend beyond mere knowledge. They teach empathy, reminding us that the people of the past were not so different from ourselves. They faced uncertainty, hoped for safety and prosperity, and sought meaning in their lives. Understanding their experiences encourages us to reflect on our own choices, our own societies, and the legacies we leave behind. There's a profound beauty in this connection across time, a reminder that humanity is defined not only by achievements, but by the persistence, courage, and creativity that endure even in the face of adversity. Archaeology also emphasizes the importance of observation and patience. The smallest discoveries, a fragment of pottery, a carved symbol, a buried foundation, can dramatically alter our understanding of the past. These details reveal unexpected truths, challenge assumptions, and create opportunities to reinterpret history. In this way, medieval archaeology teaches that history is not static. It is a living narrative, constantly evolving as new evidence comes to light, inviting us to question, explore, and imagine. Furthermore, these lessons encourage us to preserve and protect the heritage around us. Castles, ruins, and archaeological sites are not simply tourist attractions. They are tangible links to our shared human story. Preserving them allows future generations to experience history firsthand, to learn from the past, and to appreciate the ingenuity, bravery, and creativity of those who came before. It is a reminder that the work of archaeologists is not only about discovery, it is about stewardship, ensuring that the stories of the past continue to inform, inspire, and educate. Perhaps most importantly, medieval archaeology reminds us that even in decay, there is hope. Even in ruins, there is beauty. Broken walls, worn steps, and crumbled towers carry lessons about resilience, transformation, and the enduring nature of human effort. They show that societies, like individuals, are shaped by both triumph and loss, by the choices made in challenging circumstances, and by the persistence to continue despite uncertainty. Each discovery is a testament to the courage and vision of those who came before us, and a call to recognize the value of our own contributions to the future. As we reflect on these stories, it becomes clear that history is more than a series of events. It is a dialogue between past and present, a bridge that connects us with the people, places, and experiences that shape the world we live in today. Through medieval archaeology, we gain insight into human condition, our capacity for creativity, resilience, and hope. We see that even centuries later, the lives of those who came before us continue to speak, to teach, and to inspire. Ultimately, the study of medieval archaeology is a reminder that we are part of a continuum. The castles, knights, and kingdoms of the past are not merely relics. They are reflections of human ambition, courage, and imagination. They invite us to learn, to reflect, and to dream. They encourage us to honor the past while shaping the future. In uncovering their stories, we discover not only history but also ourselves, and we are reminded that even amidst ruins, the human spirit endures, leaving lessons of hope, beauty, and courage for all who come after. As we step away from the silent ruins, the broken walls, and the echoing halls of medieval castles, one truth becomes clear. History is never truly lost. It lives in the stones beneath our feet, in the artifacts buried beneath centuries of soil, and in the stories of people whose names we may never know. Each discovery reminds us that every life, every choice, every struggle, and every triumph contributes to the tapestry of human history. The past whispers to us through the remnants of forgotten kingdoms, the scars on battlefield bones, and the traces of daily life carefully preserved in pottery, tools, and manuscripts. These echoes teach us about courage in the face of uncertainty, resilience against the odds, and the relentless pursuit of progress, art, and community. They remind us that the people of the past were not so different from ourselves. They dreamed, they built, they hoped, and they left legacies that still speak today. And now, as the shadows lengthen across crumbling walls, as the wind whispers through ancient corridors, we are left with a question. What will we leave behind? What stories? What creations? What lessons will carry forward into the centuries to come? History waits for those willing to listen, willing to uncover, and willing to remember. And when we answer that call, the past and present meet, revealing that the story of humanity is far from over. It is still being written, one discovery at a time.